Post-Oost-Europa. Straks in het programma een analyse van de politieke situatie in Rusland rondom president Poetin met René Does van het Oost-Europa-instituut, maar eerst Estland. We praten met Airi Kana. Zij is general manager van het Estonian Business Center dat gevestigd is op Schiphol. Ms. Kana, could you please tell us what the Estonian Business Center is doing and how long has it been in existence?
Yes, Estonian Business Center was initially established by the Honorary Consul of Estonian Republic, Mr. Viibo Aris, and that was the beginning of 1995. So by now we have been for 5 years, more than 5 years. The idea was to establish this center to mediate the business contacts between the two countries, Estonia and Holland, to help Dutch companies to find their way to Estonia, to provide information about Estonia, and also vice versa, to help Estonian exporters, for example, to come to the Dutch market. So this was the main idea, and also promote the whole country and the tourism and investment climate.
Does it mean, from whom came the idea? From the Estonian government or from private companies?
The idea came solely from the private side, so this is the honorary consul, as I mentioned, and he is a Dutchman. He's actually the president of a TMI group, which stands for Transport Management International, and this is a very big logistics transportation company in Holland, one of the biggest ones, and they got the very close business relations with Estonia already beginning of 90s. They actually helped to build up Estonian Air, the aircraft company, and now they have a daughter company in Estonia, which is Air Cargo Estonia, the biggest cargo company, and they thought that it's going so well between Estonia and Holland, why not to help to establish the contacts further and help other Dutch companies to go to Estonia. So it has nothing to do with the Estonian government as such. It's privately owned and it's a Dutch business, let's say, yeah.
Yeah, but the honorary consul, is he the person who represents Estonia in Holland? Is there not an ambassador, for example?
It's different. There is no ambassador. There is Estonian embassy, which is located in The Hague, but there is only the charge d'affaires, so not yet ambassador. And consul for a country is different. Consul is sent by the Estonian government, but the honorary consuls are always local people in that particular country, and he just has the honor to be one because of the business what he has done for Estonia, and we also have a consulate. So earlier times Dutchmen needed a visa to go to Estonia. We also issued visas.
Yeah, and now back to the activities of the business center. The other day you organized a matchmaking morning in Egmond aan Zee in a hotel. What is this? Could you describe this, please?
That was the initiative of the Estonian Trade Council in Estonia. They had a group of Estonian exporters, about 12 companies in Estonia, who were interested to come to look for Dutch market, basically, to find partners, to meet maybe already existing partners, and to look for their new market. So they came to Holland, and we had to organize this kind of a matchmaking, we call it. It's basically a business meetings. We had to find potential partners from Holland who would be interested to meet the Estonian companies and discuss if there is any future cooperation.
What kind of Estonian companies were there in Egmond aan Zee?
We had from different industries. There were several companies from timber industry, which is one of the biggest industries in Estonia because we have a lot of forest. We had textile companies, clothing companies. We also had a transportation company, and also peat, which is one of the resources what we can export.
I looked at the list that you sent me, and there were some rather large companies, but also a few very small with only a few employees. Was this done on purpose?
No, they were all medium or small sized, except one company which is a really big company. But if you look at the number of employees, then sometimes it's not very true, because there were a couple of holdings, which means that this was just a representative holding, but they actually have several daughter companies or several, for example, sawmills who provide all the products, and they are just the holding who looks for markets and new clients. So, but they were small or medium-sized companies, yes.
What kind of Dutch companies were there? What kind of companies are interested in dealing with Estonia?
Well, we specifically worked company by company. We had the cooperation request from Estonian companies, so we knew what they are looking for, what they are doing, and what kind of a partner they are looking for. So basically, if we talk about wood or timber or furniture, then of course they were traders, agents of wood, or importers, wholesalers of wood.
Mm-hmm.
So, and for clothing, then of course big manufacturers of clothing who are interested to find subcontractors, because Estonian clothing textile companies, they are mainly doing subcontracting still. They have their own lines, but it's a smaller part of a business.
To what extent are Dutch companies at this point involved in investing in Estonia?
It's increasing year by year. It is quite lively at the moment, and this year, for example, a couple of very big investments from Dutch companies are done in Estonia. One is, in fact, into a small sawmill, and the other one is for an oil tanker, basically an oil terminal in Tallinn, the capital of Estonia.
Mm-hmm.
And the interest is always there, but now it's more lively because Estonian economy has recovered from the Russian market crisis, and it is very lively at the moment, and the economic growth is increasing month by month.
Are you trying to build a sort of a special relationship with Holland, say two small countries close to the sea with a very large country behind them? Maybe Holland is for Estonia a stepping stone to Germany. Is something right in what I say? Or not at all?
No, actually not. Let's say the relations between Estonia and Germany are much more developed. There
also historical probably.
Yes, historical point of view, and maybe also a little closer. And of course the language. Many Estonians still speak German, and but it's true, between those two countries there are quite many similarities. They are both small if you don't compare the size of the population, but just the country size and the location. We are both countries, we are situated by the sea, and we are in a strategic point for a transit trade, for example. So there are similarities, yes.
Mm-hmm. Could you give a small outline of Estonian economy? You already talked about wood, a lot of woods, that's logical. What else is there?
As a natural resource or as an industry?
Both.
Well, as a natural resource we don't have much, and that is one of the main problems why Estonia needs to produce and export. We can't live on a natural resources. For example, some countries have oil. We don't have anything, and we don't have internal consumption, meaning that we only have 1.4 million people, which is no market, so it means that we have to produce and export to survive. So basically the main industries what we have is machine building and machine parts, computers, and then food processing industry. Then the third is the timber industry, and then comes the textile industry. So these are the main biggest industries. And if you look at the exports and imports between Holland and Estonia, then both ways actually, the machine buildings industry is the biggest part of the exports, if from Estonia to Holland and from Holland to Estonia, the imports as well. But then of course different parts. From Estonia basically go maybe smaller parts and sub parts for machinery, and from Holland then come ready-made products.
In the days of the Soviet Union, we were told that Estonians were the best informed people in the Soviet Union about the West, because your language is very close to Finnish, and you could watch Finnish television in Estonia. This relationship with Finland, is it still as important as it was?
Yes, it's very important. In fact, Finnish and as well Swedish people and as a country are the main trading partners for Estonia. They are in fact making up of the almost half of the foreign trade is with Finnish or Swedish companies. Mm-hmm. And it's true, at earlier times we always had Finnish television in the northern part of Estonia, so we could get the idea and grasp what's happening in the Western world, and the languages are close, so we could understand. And basically we, for example, my family already had friends in Finland at 60s, and the relations between those countries were existing also during the Soviet time when the borders were closed and it was very difficult to travel. So the relation is still there, yes.
Now let's talk about Estonia entering European Union within a few years. It's not exactly known when this will be, but the prospect helps probably. How does the prospect of becoming a member of European Union influence the economic relationships between, say, Holland and Estonia?
Well, first of all, it of course opens up the Western market. If we will be the member of the EU, then we probably will have, maybe not all, but the same rights more or less as all the members of the European Union, meaning that we could export to every country and there shouldn't be any obstacles for free trade. And that's a very important thing for Estonia, because at the moment companies are actively looking for Western markets, and it's still very difficult because there are many regulations which restrict the free trade movement. So there are of course free trade agreements with a number of countries, but if we become a member, then it's a kind of a proof that now this country is a member of EU. The standards should be at that level, and also probably the products that they produce are then acceptable for the EU standards.
The European Union has a lot of demands from the new countries. What are the problems that Estonia is faced with in this respect, adapting to European Union?
Problems. One of the main obstacles so far has been the language law in Estonia, which on the eyes of European Union is very much discriminating against the ethnic minorities in Estonia.
What is this law about?
This law basically states that the very strong point, what makes European Union a little bit angry, is that if you want to live in Estonia and work in Estonia, then you should have the knowledge of Estonian language. And in the eyes of European Union, it's, let's say, even absurd, because, for example, if there is a English school based in Tallinn, then the teachers, lecturers will be, of course, British, and how can they know then Estonian language? They can't. But according to the law, they should. So this is still under construction, and amendments have done into the law to make it more lenient, not that strong or not that discriminative. Because we still have, let's say, 30% of our population are Russian people. And it's especially discriminating against them, because if they want to involve themselves in the daily business life, then they have to know Estonian, and many still don't. So it's kind of a problematic issue.
Yeah. Generally speaking, Estonia is one of the many countries which have to make a transition from planned economy to the free market economy. Every country has its specific problems, of course. Now, when we compare Estonia to your neighboring countries, Lithuania and Latvia, they do not yet have yet the prospect of entering into European Union. You have. What is the what is the secret of this success for Estonia?
Well, first of all, I would say it's not completely correct to say that the other countries, Latvia and Lithuania, don't have a prospect to become a member. They do. They just belong to the second group of the enlargement process, and basically, European Union has decided that if the enlargement will be, then the groupings like this 5+1, where Estonia belongs, the first group. It doesn't have to be just this group. Countries from the second group can easily become members of the first group, and when the enlargement will be and exactly how many countries will be accepted, it hasn't been decided. So at this point we can't say that we are far ahead. But if you look at the economical prospects and all the reforms what have been done in Estonia, then we are ahead, even they say a few years ahead. And maybe you asked for the secret, then I would say that the very rapid and quick reforms, for example the monetary reform in Estonia, that have been the base for this success in so few years. So these this government what we had between 92 and 94, during that time they really made a very big progress just about the reforms.
Being ahead, albeit maybe little as you describe it, of course is also a proof of taking initiative. Now, for example, the Estonian Business Center has taken the initiative to make a Dutch-Estonian conversation guide, a language guide, a taalgids. Is this sort of an example of Estonian initiative? Because as far as I know, it's the only business center who has done such a thing.
Well, I don't even know if there are other business centers, if Latvia or Lithuania have.
That could be the same
to my knowledge, there is not. But this language guide, I think it's a very vital thing. So far, we have no vocabulary between, no dictionary between Estonian and Dutch languages. So basically, this is the only thing what Dutchmen can have if they want to know some Estonian words before they go to the country, and it's a very good taalgids, I would say, because it gives you the everyday words and expressions what you need, and maybe it's a kind of a fast initiative as an example for the other countries. Yes.
Are more Dutch people going to Estonia as tourists, as far as you know?
Yes, especially now during this last year, from the 1st of July 1999, just a year ago, the visa freedom arrived, and now during this year it's really easy, and more people want to go and see the country, especially now during summer with the yacht boats and making like bicycle tours, whatever. So it's a very attractive destination to go. In fact, Estonia had the fastest growing number of tourists per year in the whole Europe during last year. So this is also very good.